Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, Nick's here and Heather's with me again today, and we have got our NXT Vengeance Day predictions video. So we're going to be going through all of the matches on the card, basically saying who we think is going to win in each one, and maybe a little bit of a theory as to why that person is going to win. So, how about we break things down then this coming Saturday, 15th, in Washington, D.C., Vengeance Day NXT. Looking forward to the show, but let's see why. So, one of the matches that's going to be on the card, let's talk about this one first and foremost. We've got Fraxiums, Nathan Fraser and Axiom, the WWE NXT Tag Team Champions. They're going to be taking on Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. So, this is the first time that Fraxium have actually been able to have these guys as their challengers. They seemingly have just gone through the entire NXT Tag Team division. They've been that good as a tag team. They were the tag team of the year last year in wrestling in general. So it's just a credit to how well they've been blending and doing just the work they've been putting in recently has been incredible for the both of them. But this is a brand new team. This is an opportunity for them to experience something different. And Josh Briggs, we've seen him in tag team action before in the past with Brooke Jensen, obviously long ago. But now this is an opportunity for him to tag up with someone a little bit different, a little new, in Yoshiki Inamura. And they've only been together for roughly about a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. But now they're in a tag team championship position. They've recently said that Fraxium have been ducking them. But now they've won that tag team match on NXT recently, the Triple Threat contest. They were awarded an opportunity by Nathan Fraser and Axiom. So quite generous from the champion, but seemingly just wanting to prove themselves against another tag team in the division. I completely get the mentality. They're that good. And I think they will retain here in this contest. I think that's no disrespect to Josh and Yoshiki. But I think, when you look at Fraxium, they've just been through absolute chaos as a tag team. And there's seemingly no chaos in this one. So I think for me, it's a no-brainer. What about you, Nick? Do you agree with me on this one? Do you think it's as easy as that? Or do you think there might be a little bit of an extra little twist involved in this tale?
Yeah, it's crazy how far we've come with Nathan Fraser and Axiom. What seemed like they were going to, break up, ages ago, and still here holding strong. Maybe a bit of a hiccup here and there, but overall, still being together is kind of crazy when you think about it, the big picture. Yeah, I agree with you though. I think they're going to hold on to the titles here. I think I want to call it a makeshift tag team, but it still kind of feels that way. But I think they could certainly, elevate themselves with a good showing here. But overall, I don't think it's quite time. I think it'll be on a much bigger stage if Nathan Fraser and Axiom are to lose those titles. But just not yet for me personally.
Yeah, so both in agreement there then. We will not have new tag team champions as far as we're concerned here on the Push. Fraxium still retaining their titles is what we're going for. So how about we move on now then onto our next contest, and we have got the Women's North American Championship being defended here by Fallon Henley against Stephanie Vicker. Stephanie, since coming to NXT, has looked a very, very big threat to anybody really that stands in their way. Her and Julia, obviously Julia is now the NXT Women's Champion, so she's gone on to claim a title for herself, and now it's possibly Stephanie's turn to do exactly that for herself. She goes up against one of Fatal Influence. Obviously, Fallon Henley is the champion, and she's held that gold since defeating Kalani Jordan towards the later stages of last year. I think, as far as Fallon Henley's title reign goes up until this point, this is arguably, and I'd say arguably, undoubtedly, really, her biggest threat to her losing the championship. Stephanie Vicker is another level from the ladies that we've seen up until now. And this is a serious problem for the Fallon Henley fans out there, possibly including myself in that one as well. But no, I think if I was to base this on a logical choice here, I would probably go with Stephanie Vicker to win. But I wouldn't rule out Fallon in some sort of Fatal Influence type situation here. Maybe a little bit of interference at ringside, perhaps. JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. They'll be here. They'll be involved in some way. Maybe Steph will have an answer to that. Maybe somehow she'll have some backup, some support to help her, because it has been hinted in previous weeks from Fatal Influence that Stephanie has no friends, and I remember them saying that because it obviously makes you think, well, what if she did have friends? Maybe this would be a bit more even. So I can see possibly something coming up here for Stephanie Becerra in terms of some allies appearing out of nowhere, seemingly. But yeah, I think if I had to really just sort of like say one of the two, I'm going to go with Stephanie Becerra here to win the Women's North American Championship, even though I would rather Fallon Henley does hold on to the gold. What about you, Nick? What do you think regarding this? What do you think of the same thing as me, or are you thinking something a little bit different?
Yeah, and this may end up being a pretty boring video if we agree on everything. But I do think Becerra is going to win the title. It's just a matter of when. Does she win it tonight? Even with the disruptions from Fatal Influence, I think that's kind of obviously the elephant in the room. And as you mentioned, maybe Becerra has someone up her sleeve that she can come in and then negate that threat. So I think she's going to win, but is it in this defense or the next one? I think it's really what it boils down to. She's just too big of a talent to bring in and not have a title on at some point. Following in Julia's footsteps, so to speak. But yeah, I think, and I don't think that's a downside either. I think Fallon Henley losing to Becerra isn't something to hang your head on at all. So yeah, I think if I had to pick, I feel like this just feels like it's boiling up to something bigger, maybe. So I do think Fallon's going to hold on to it here, and then kind of next time they get together, whether that be the next PLE or a rematch because of the interference, I think that's when she'll take the title. But if I had to pick now, I think Fallon holds on to it for one more defense.
Okay, so, both going a little bit differently now, perhaps, maybe trying to avoid the agreement. But, yeah, okay, great. If that's the case, then I'd be very pleased with that one. Hopefully she does hold on to her gold. But, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see, right? If Steph does have allies in her corner, and if maybe Fallon can hold on for, a later defense, possibly a rematch here, like you said, against Stephanie Becerra. But for now, we're going differently. I'm going with Stephanie, you're going with Fallon Henley. Let's move on to our next little bit of conversation here, everybody. So we have got a NXT Championship Triple Threat contest, which sees the champion, the ruler of NXT, Oba Femi, taking on A-Town Down Under's Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. It's been a recurring theme over the past 7, 8, 9, however many months. It's been a long time. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller haven't been quite on the same page. Austin Theory possibly there's been talks of a face turn, maybe rumored, whatever. Maybe people have been looking a bit too deep into it. I don't know. But it's been the conversation, that's for sure. Nothing's materialized from that. It's been just, them two eventually just, picking up where they left off previously and getting back along with one another again. I think that when it comes to this type of matchup here with Oba Femi, this is the first time they've been put in a truly compromising position where they're going to have to figure things out. And only one of them can win. Do I think one of them will win? No, I think Oba Femi will retain the championship here. But I think this is very important for A-Town Down Under in terms of how they approach this. I think at first they will go into it with the case of, let's just gang up on Oba, let's take him out of the conversation, and then whatever happens afterwards happens. I think they probably will end up maybe just having a little bit of a thing in the middle of the ring. Maybe one of them gets a little bit too aggressive towards the other. I'm thinking maybe Grayson Waller on that vibe, and maybe then Theory starts to take offense to that, and just replies in kind, taking out Grayson Waller, bit by bit they just get into a bit of a flurry, and then it progresses there into a proper traditional triple threat contest. I think that's basically how this one's going to go. We'll have to wait and see, but that would be my sort of my understanding. But I'm going to go with Oba Femi winning here. I think it's a pretty comfortable decision for myself. I don't really have any other doubts regarding that. And I think very interesting to see the future of A-Town Down Under after this contest as to how they go forward from whatever happens from this position. Nick, do you agree with me? Oba Femi to retain, right?
Yeah, I think the overall outcome seems to be relatively obvious. Oba Femi winning here. I just while the outcome is predictable, I feel like the intrigue of this match is probably one of, if not the highest, simply because I want to see how they're gonna do it in terms of the dynamic between the three of them. I keep thinking they're gonna pull the trigger on it, but again, as mentioned in the NXT recap video, I feel like it should be something that's done on main. But how many people watch main watch this as well, and so does this kind of carry over back to main, or do they split up on NXT and kind of rebuild themselves as single stars, then to go back to main? So I think those are all possibilities. I just don't know if they're going to pull the trigger during this match or because of the outcome of it, and then kind of do it down the road, or whether that be on main or NXT. But decision remains the same. I think Obafemi will win here, and retain. Just doesn't feel like this is a type of match that he would lose to. But now that I'm saying that and we're going over these matches, do we have any title losses? So I might have to go back and change a previous prediction, but for that, for this one, I do think Obafemi retain.
I mean, you make a good point. There are a lot of champions defending the title successfully, as far as we're predicting here. But yeah, I think this is a no-brainer, right? I think this is one of those ones that has to go with Obafemi. I think he's just been killing it recently. The last 18 months or so, he's been absolutely phenomenal. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon, to be honest. And especially against these guys 8 times down under. They'll go back to the main roster, I would assume, and pick up wherever this leads them to, I suppose. So let's go on to our next contest, and this was made official on NXT last night as of recording, and it would be Javon Evans going one-on-one with Ethan Page. This has been quite the brutal build-up here, really, if you think about it. Ethan Page, basically just destroying the jaw of Javon Evans. It's been very personal. It all started from Ethan Page basically saying how he's lost his smile, and he did this quite emotional segment in the middle of the ring. Javon Evans would come out and try to console him, saying, I like the Ethan Page that I'm seeing right now. And Ethan would basically just essentially lure him in and would take that opportunity to strike, taking him out, severely injuring his jaw, to the point where he's shattering it. And Javon's obviously been struggling with that healing process for quite a few weeks now, and it's been interesting to see his sort of development over those few weeks throughout the progression of his so-called injury. So when it comes to this matchup here at Vengeance Day, this was made official, like I said, on NXT last night, and Javon would have to sign a little waiver, basically saying how if anything happens to you at Vengeance Day, you can't hold WWE NXT responsible for any injuries inflicted by Ethan Page. And we know that Ethan Page is going to come out here very aggressive, and he's going to be, the same guy that he always is in these big matches, on the PLE stages, and his ego's going to be shining. And I think Javon's had a rough build going into this match. I think to say that Ethan Page is going to, destroy his jaw and then beat him in the match of Vengeance Day, I feel like that's probably not going to be the case. So I would say Javon Evans with a win here, just to sort of try and, bring up some stock for him personally, after going through a pretty hellacious few weeks thanks to Ethan Page. I mean, we've had even Cedric Alexander, he's no longer even with WWE anymore, but he was involved in this as well. Ethan Page injured him, took him out for a while, then beat him up again, pinned him, once again. And, now obviously Javon Evans is left alone to defend off Ethan Page. I feel like, a lot has gone wrong for Javon in the build-up to this. I feel like he's pretty much guaranteed to win this matchup based on that alone. But I suppose there's a chance Ethan Page could win, but I'm going to go with Javon Evans. What about you, Nick? Would you agree with me here, or are you leaning towards the side of all ego?
Yeah, I think our logic for this one is pretty similar. As Javon Evans winning this here has to be just because of the build-up, and the guy broke your jaw, fractured your jaw, whatever, and then for you still not to win. Although I feel like it would be an opportunity to further elevate Ethan Page and maybe even turn Javon Evans into something more vicious, maybe not so positive all the time, because you could see that being an issue. We talk about that all the time too, is someone being too much of a babyface. So I could see that maybe working, but yeah, the obvious answer here does seem like Javon Evans would win. I feel like that elevates him a lot more than it would be if Ethan Page were to win. So yeah, I think that one's relatively obvious. it just has way more to gain from Javon winning.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that one there. I think we're on the same wavelength for sure. And I mean, I'm a big fan of Ethan Page. I think he's been tremendous since going to NXT. But I think Javon, I think he's destined to win this matchup. Moving on now into our last topic of conversation of the show. And we have got a fatal four-way for the NXT Women's Championship. We've got the likes of Bayley, Roxanne Perez, and thanks to last night on NXT, Cora Jade, who would advance after beating Bayley. They're all going to be challenging for Julia's NXT Women's Championship. Julia, having defeated Roxanne Perez, to obviously win that championship, now goes into this fatal four-way match, knowing that it's a much bigger challenge in stock for her. I am really looking forward to this contest. I was looking forward to it anyway when it was triple threat. I thought it was absolutely stacked and insane. I didn't think they would need to do anything else to make it any bigger. Then obviously they've added Cora Jade. We've got that extra element added in. For those of you that maybe have watched our NXT reactions video, I think Nick made a very good point about Cora Jade coming into this one. Has she just been put in there to eat the pin? I hope not. I actually do hope not. I hope that's not the case, because I feel like that would be the wrong move. That's literally all they've done here. I would be a little bit upset to see that. I don't think that Julia is losing her championship here for a second. I think that she will retain. I think, she only just started her run. I feel like ending it now would be a bit of an odd call. So I'm going to go with Julia to retain here, to retain the championship. So I'm not going to go with any championship changing hand except for that Fallon Henley across the board. But I think, I'm just hoping that Cora doesn't eat a pin here, because I feel like she's just starting to really get into a position after coming back where she's trying to elevate herself into the same position that the likes of Bayley can be in, and Roxanne Perez has been in for so long, and Julia is in now. So I think her losing here in this one isn't the best idea, but I can see that happening. I can kind of see it, but I mean ultimately at this point, Roxanne Perez, she is in this thing with Bayley right now, this sort of a little bit of a feud they got going on. Bayley's on the main roster. Roxanne Perez, she's just come off the back of a very long with a championship run. I feel like Roxanne could probably go up to the main roster, ASAP really. I feel like her days in NXT are probably numbered now. And, she'll be imminently on the main roster, Raw, probably on Monday Night Raw, I would say. So I can't see, any logical choice as to why she would be winning this matchup, and the same for Bayley being on the main roster. So I guess really you leave it as just Cora Jade and Julia, who are the only two that are going to be in NXT after this. So if you're taking out Bayley and Roxanne, to have Cora be the only one left as a challenger, to have her take the pin, I think is a very strange call. So I would probably have somebody else take it. I don't think a loss hurts either Bayley or Roxy really here. Based on certain circumstances that can happen during the matchup that could, just cause that to be a completely logical pinfall. But I think it should be a great match. Really, really excited for this one. Maybe I've just gone way too analytical there and analyzed it way too much. But I think Julia to win, and hopefully Cora doesn't take the pin, because I don't know where she goes after that if that's the case. Nick, what about you, buddy? Do you agree with a Julia win here? And what about the philosophy of the other three women, the challengers, going into this one?
Times when these fatal four-way matches, it just kind of feels like, or any match with more than two people, it feels like you have to try to logically figure out how they're gonna play this one out. But as you mentioned, and as I mentioned last podcast here, Cora Jade feels like she's getting momentum, and adding her to this match last minute, then to have her eat the fall would feel like that would kind of be taking 2 steps backwards for sure. That being said, Bayley is in the Elimination Chamber. She just beat the Intercontinental Champion on the main roster, so it doesn't make a lot of sense for her to lose either. Then you kind of get into the weird: do people that watch NXT also watch main, or vice versa? Does a loss on NXT really matter to anyone in the grand scheme of things? You could certainly make that case as well sometimes as well. But then, I feel like Roxanne Perez, just having broke the record for the women's Rumble, the most time being in it, and all things seemingly coming up for her, and then she has a qualifier as well on main roster next week against Raquel Rodriguez. So I feel like you kind of booked yourself into a corner here. I'm not going to pick this as my official thing, but I guess we could have a DQ finish here to let Julia keep her title that way. I feel like personally, I feel like this match is probably going to be the main event, and that's why I've organized it in this order. But I wasn't super confident in the order of things, but I just felt like this one is the biggest one on the card. But yeah, who do you have lose? DQ finish seems like the only way to protect everyone, and everyone kind of seems like they're in a position to really not lose. So to me, it makes most sense to have a DQ finish, and then everyone remains unscathed. But I'm not gonna have that be my official pick because no one wants to hear that. I guess Bailey. I guess Bailey takes the pen, and maybe just directly because of something Roxanne does, and or Cora Jade, because I feel like everyone else would hurt. I think the only way you could spin that if Cora Jade were to take the loss would be to up her, her mean streak, so to speak. I think that's the only kind of way you could spin that. If she loses because of Bailey and or Roxanne, then she just goes crazy and injures Roxanne, and then that's how they pull up the main. Again, maybe we're reading too far into this one, but this one is a tough one, and I too think that Julia will win and retain, but just a matter of who. So I guess we're gonna go Bailey. That's my final answer, taking the pin, because that's, again, as we mentioned on our last video, Bailey is just that kind of person to put over the talent. So. And with that also being said, I want to go back. I want to change my pick. I think Vicaire is going to win because I don't think they're going to have PLE with no title changes. So I thought Vicaire would win, just a matter of when. But yeah, I think because of the entire card, reviewing it whole, I think it has to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you just said there. I think Bailey is the kind of person that literally would put anybody over, given the opportunity. So. Yeah, I think that's a bad call, really, for this one. I'd be fine with that. But yeah, Julia, I'm looking forward to how her run really does play out, because she's ultimately very, very talented. Only recently just come to NXT, not that long ago. Towards the later stages of last year. It was probably around September time, was it, something like that? But yeah, she's already the women's champion, and she's had a really solid start to her NXT career. So I'm looking forward to this contest. Fatal forward. I think you could be right. This could be the main event. It seems to be the biggest match on the card, in my opinion. So yeah, I can't see any reason why this wouldn't be in this spot. So I think you probably made the right call there. But yeah, obviously Roxy and Bailey going back to the main roster. Well, Bailey going back to the main roster. Roxy probably following her up there. That'll be great for her. And yeah, the dynamic between Cora and whatever goes on after this matchup. Yeah, I'm excited. Looking forward to it. Should be a really good show. Guys, that is our NXT Vengeance Day predictions video podcast. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed this one. If you agree with what you've had to say here, please let us know in the comments. Please hit a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Before we do quickly head off, then Nick, is there anything you'd like to add on to this one before we do go?
Yeah, not much other than it should be a fun event. And after last night, kind of almost doubling that card, it's great to see. Before that, I think it was going to be too short of a card, so I'm glad we got a few extra matches. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun, and we will be back on Sunday for our reactions video.
We absolutely will be. Yes, looking forward to watching the show, casting our reactions, and seeing what everybody else thought of it as well. But hey, to NXT Vengeance Day, we go. Looking forward to it. And we'll see you all in the next one, all right? This has been The Push with Nick and KP, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Take it easy, and goodbye.